What's up and what's happening, TPE fam? We're back with another episode of the Pivot Experience, where our aim and goal is to help you pivot into your next. And on today's episode, I've got a very special guest. It's not every day that we get a chance to talk to someone who's actually been on Shark Tank. That's right. The hit show for entrepreneurs, the entrepreneurs that has been airing and running for years. I have a guest on today that is that had an opportunity to not only be on the show, but also to land a deal with the Marc Cuban. And some of you might have seen this product before if you guys had a chance to catch that episode. For those of you who follow me on Instagram, you see that I work out in that product from time to time. I'm talking about none other than the CEO and owner of Shredskinz. Man, Kalaii, how are you doing today, my man?
I am doing very well. Thank you for having me, man. I'm super excited. Great day today. Ready to get it kicked off, and thanks for having me.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And just so our audience can know, I wanted us to kind of just dig into who you are, what you're about, what's your background, and just, once you tell us that, how did you get into Shredskinz? What's the story behind it?
No, for sure. So without giving you the last 28 years of my life, my name is Kalaii Griffin. I'm based here in Texas, from the East Coast, right? Massachusetts, DMV area. Found myself doing martial arts all of my life. Found football kind of late in high school. The reason why I bring that up is because football essentially changed my life, but I always had martial arts in the back of my mind. Rolled that into a college scholarship. And then after that, the NFL did not work out, obviously, which found me finding Shredskinz, right? And so I tie that all in together because how I invented Shredskinz or had Shredskinz, be where it is today was kind of an accident, right? Some of the craziest ideas just kind of happen off of what you're doing every day, right? One of my biggest tips, or I guess mentions that I always say is you have that $1 million business in your mind right now. You're doing it every day. You just haven't monetized it, right? Like you haven't even turned it into a business yet, but everyone is a millionaire up here. You just have to turn that thought into a business.
Absolutely. No, I definitely agree with that. I think, Jay-Z said it best. We all have genius level talent. We just got to tap into it. And I think that it sounds like to me that you're fully tapped into Shredskinz. And I'll just tell you, I'll get a little personal. I've had sauna suits before. I've had them, I've bought them, and they're effective. However, it's just the aftermath is what kind of makes the sauna suit not as appealing. It's again, they functional, but your product, man, by far, I can tell you, I've gotten into the habit of just the convenience of just ripping that thing off and putting it in the trash and going on about my day. You don't have to worry of spraying it out, washing it out. You don't have to inconvenience. I mean, I think this is why you created the product. You know exactly, some of the ills of that space. So kind of just talk to us about what is a Shredskinz? For those of the people who don't know, what is exactly your product?
Man, I'll tell you, you pretty much pitched it, man. I got to get you on the team so you can start some fighters and some gyms, but very, very much so of what you said, right? So Shredskinz is the first and only single-use sauna suit that's on the market today, right? And a lot of the things that you've already said, right? So sauna suits have already existed, right? So that's obvious. But what happens is if you've used a sauna suit before, especially a reusable sauna suit, because that was all on the market, you would have to clean, dry them, make sure you didn't get infected because you had to make sure you clean them properly. And then just the convenience factor, right, of wearing this big, bulky sauna suit that you're trying to put in a gym bag or carry into the gym, use it, sweat in it, take it back home. You can't throw it in the washing machine. I think they have like a couple out now that you can, but then they end up ripping on you anyway after you use them like 3 to 5 times. So I was also one of those people that were using the reusable sauna suits, right? And then I was also a person that was using trash bags. And I say this, it's kind of funny, but honestly, like who wants to wear a trash bag, right? Like who wants to sit there, go under their kitchen sink, poke holes in the trash bag, throw it on, and feel confident about going into a gym rocking a trash bag, right? Save that for the trash, literally, no pun intended, right? Like you are better than that. And I thought I was better than that. But I will say, not to get super personal, but, there was a time in my life where right after football off of a college scholarship check, we were And I didn't want to keep buying those reusable sauna suits because they would run you anywhere from $10 to $110, honestly. And even if I kept buying the $10 ones, they would rip on me. I couldn't keep buying those, right? And I didn't want to keep using trash bags. And mind you, I mean, I was blessed enough to have a roof over my head, but when you're trying to minimize your output of everything around your house, like I can't run through 30 trash bags a month. You know what I mean? So really, with all those things tied together, I was just like, why isn't there a single use sauna suit, right? Like, why isn't there one where I can just wear it one time? It's fairly cheap. It feels good. It looks cool, but I can rip it off and throw it out. And it didn't exist. And then boom, Shredskinz was born.
Okay, so here's where this is not pushback per se, but all right, you've got the idea, you have the concept in your head. What is the number one thing about you that helped you go from concept to product to success? Because there's a lot of people who have the idea. There's a ton of people we may know that have the ideas, but they may not have the business sense or the leadership sense to take it from idea to actual product to actually making sales. To be honest with you, I think you might know this girl. I'm gonna say her name, Naomi. That's how we learned about your product. She's here in the same city as me.
Yep.
I think she does. At one point, she was doing well as an affiliate, just like she's
Crushing it.
crushing it. Yeah, and so that's how we got turned on to the product. And so, like, you're obviously doing something right. You obviously have a team around you that's either giving you guidance or is coming from you. So, what did that process look like for you? Like, if you don't mind us asking, like, you had the idea. From idea, where did you go?
Right. And so I'll keep it real, man. How to break it down very simple is everyone has two choices in this world, right? And not even to get dramatic on you, but this is the best way I can explain it. And everybody has two choices when their back is against the wall, right? You can either fight or you can flight, right? Literally, we've all heard that expression before. Um, and once I came up with this concept, I knew that if I directed all of my energy to fight to make this something real, a reality, right? Without things that are out of my control, right? Like, let's say maybe, this was something that already existed and I didn't catch it, or maybe some type of form of legality and I didn't catch it. But I knew that if I fought and I put all of my energy and time and my subconscious mind and my focus into something that I believe in, there's no way I can lose. And that's how I approach everything, right? And so there are situations and scenarios where people will apply this to and it doesn't work. Well, you have to ask yourself, right? There's really only two reasons why your time hasn't come. Either it's just not the right time, or you haven't applied yourself fully to the point where you could look at yourself and say, like, I did that, right? And so while I say this, there was tremendous ups and downs. There was many sleepless nights, right? Reality, right? Like, not trying to be dramatic. I mean, many nights where I didn't sleep. There was many times where I felt like um, maybe I should not do this. There's many times where I felt like maybe I should have something else as a backup plan. But I'll tell you, once you reel yourself back in and you apply the steps of going in and fighting, waking up every day and saying, listen, I could either run from or I can fight and run through it. And so that is literally the easiest way to put, the thought to the execution to the actual sale, right? Like, everyone is different. Everyone has a different platform, has a different look. Everyone talks different. But one thing we all have is those two options, right? Either you can fight or you can run. And I just chose to fight, man. And I just used everything, all my resources and whatever I could do to make sure I turned it into a business.
Oh, man, that's compelling. And I guess my question would be, what was that point where you thought you saw the breakthrough? Like, at what moment was? And I know, I'm sorry, I'm deviating from our questions here. I'm not.
Hey, man,
But
let it flow. It's all good.
what point did you say, all right, we're on to something? Yeah, all the sacrifice, all the everything that you've worked so hard for, and you saw this being viable. What was that moment, or what was the situation that gave you the green light?
So it's weird, right? Like, I've had two moments, right? The first one was really early on in October. We launched October 9th, 2020. I remember we had a soft launch. One of my buddies, I'll never forget him, and we'll be friends for life. His name is Anthony Luke, right? And I don't know, something about him. He he kind of gave me that confidence that I felt like that I needed, right? Because I had a lot of friends, I had a lot of, people that were in the league and people that were doing big things, but not everybody initially tapped in. And this was one guy that I essentially stumbled across through like a friend of a friend or however that happened. And he just made me feel like I could really take this to the levels that it needs to be. And the reason why is because, one, he was like reposting and posting. I think that was like my first like big kind of like person to like repost my stuff. But once we did a soft launch on October 9th, that was like friends and family, right? So like, sure, we sold or whatever. But then October 10th came around, and we were just like running up the numbers, right? Like they were coming in. We didn't have a crazy amount of product, but I was like, okay, this could be something cool. And then we ended up getting that second shipment in, right? And once we got the second shipment and all the momentum that we had built from the time being, I'm fortunate enough to have a social media mindset, so I was doing well with like just the branding and the anticipation. But uh, once that second shipment came in TikTok, which goodness, I mean that's like the bread and butter of our business. Once that TikTok started to roll up and we sold out of the second big order once we brought them in, I was like, okay, like we got something here, right? I think we did like something like $15,000 my first month, and I was like, ooh, like I was like, okay, I was like, get me ready, get me on Shark Tank now. I was like, oh, this is it. But at the end of the day, I think that was my first green light, and then obviously, without explanation, sitting with my family and friends, some of the closest people with me at my Shark Tank watch party. Um, I remember during the episode, they like cut to commercial break. This was right before the last segment of the episode. We got the anchor episode. I remember I just like my tears, man. Like I'm getting chills thinking about it. And I was just let's go. And everybody's going crazy and cheering. And then obviously, we had a good night that night. I was like, this not only is this a company and a brand, but it's something that I genuinely want to include with all my friends, my family, anyone near me. I want to put money in people's pockets, right? Like we're taking Shredskinz. We're no longer just an LLC, man. We're a corporation now. My goal is to employ people, right? My goal is to put as many people as I can on some way, somehow, give them an opportunity to be a part of this movement. And those two moments were just like huge green lights for me because I was like, all right, we got something here.
Man, that's incredible. So you've kind of walked around the elephant in the room a little bit. You brought up Shark Tank, and so my question is, what's it like working with Marc Cuban? If you can say, I don't know if you can at liberty to say, but what's that experience like?
No, for sure. So there's obviously a couple things that just for I guess disclosure agreement stuff. I won't say, but I will say he's freaking awesome, man. Like he's great, very responsive, very helpful. We're still in the motion of like just learning how to hone in on the business, right? Like learn how to run a business properly, right? So we haven't even really got things pop into to how people think that they should be, but that's coming. You know what I mean? It's coming, and I'm really excited for that. And right now, I feel like everything happens for a reason, right? Like there's some things that I'm working on and I'm doing and I'm being proactive about. Whenever I need help, he's there. Freaky fast with the responses. It's crazy. But yeah, no, everything is cool. Everything is good, and but I also wake up every day like I said in the beginning, man, and I fight. So I don't wait on or I can fight and run through it. And so that is literally the easiest way to put the thought to the execution to the actual sale, right? Like everyone is different. Everyone has a different platform, has a different look. Everyone talks different. But one thing we all have is those two options, right? Either you can fight or you can run. And I just chose a fight, man. And I just used everything, all my resources and whatever I could do to make sure I turned it into a business.
Oh, man, that's compelling. And I guess my question would be, what was that point where you thought you saw the breakthrough? Like, at what moment was? And I know, I'm sorry, I'm deviating from our questions here. I'm not.
Hey, man,
But
let it flow. It's all good.
what point did you say, all right, we're on to something? Yeah, all the sacrifice, all the everything that you've worked so hard for, and you saw this being viable. What was that moment, or what was the situation that gave you the green light?
So it's weird, right? Like I've had two moments, right? The first one was really early on in October. We launched October 9th, 2020. I remember we had a soft launch. One of my buddies, I'll never forget him, and we'll be friends for life. His name is Anthony Luke, right? And I don't know, something about him. He kind of gave me that confidence that I felt like that I needed, right? Because I had a lot of friends, I had a lot of people that were in the league and people that were doing big things, but not everybody initially tapped in. And this was one guy that um, I essentially stumbled across through like a friend of a friend, or however that happened. And he just made me feel like I could really take this to the levels that it needs to be. And the reason why is because, one, he was like reposting and posting. I think that was like my first like big kind of like person to like repost my stuff. But once we did a soft launch on October 9th, that was like friends and family, right? So like, sure, we sold or whatever. But then October 10th came around, and we were just like running up the numbers, right? Like they were coming in. We didn't have a crazy amount of product, but I was like, okay, this could be something cool. And then we ended up getting that second shipment in, right? And once we got the second shipment and all the momentum that we had built from the time being, I'm fortunate enough to have a social media mindset, so I was doing well with like just the branding and the anticipation. But uh, once that second shipment came in TikTok, which goodness, I mean that's like the bread and butter of our business. Once that TikTok started to roll up and we sold out of the second big order once we brought them in, I was like, okay, like we got something here, right? I think we did like something like $15,000 my first month, and I was like, ooh, like I was like, okay, yeah, I was like, get me ready, get me on Shark Tank now. I was like, oh, this is it. But at the end of the day, I think that was my first green light, and then obviously, without explanation, sitting with my family and friends, some of the closest people with me at my Shark Tank watch party. Um, I remember during the episode, they like cut to commercial break. This was right before the last segment of the episode. We got the anchor episode. I remember I just like my tears, man. Like I'm getting chills thinking about it. And I was just like let's go. And everybody's going crazy and cheering. And then obviously, we had a good night that night. I was like, this not only is this a company and a brand, but it's something that I genuinely want to include with all my friends, my family, anyone near me. I want to put money in people's pockets, right? Like we're taking Shredskinz. We're no longer just an LLC, man. We're a corporation now. My goal is to employ people, right? My goal is to put as many people as I can on some way, somehow, give them an opportunity to be a part of this movement. And those two moments were just like huge green lights for me because I was like, all right, we got something here.
Man, that's incredible. So you've kind of walked around the elephant in the room a little bit. You brought up Shark Tank, and so my question is, what's it like working with Mark Cuban? If you can say, I don't know if you can at liberty to say, but what's that experience like?
Nah, for sure. So there's obviously a couple things that just for I guess disclosure agreement stuff. I won't say, but I will say he's freaking awesome, man. Like he's great, very responsive, very helpful. We're still in the motion of like just learning how to hone in on the business, right? Like learn how to run a business properly, right? So we haven't even really got things popping to how people think that they should be, but that's coming. You know what I mean? It's coming, and I'm really excited for that. And right now, I feel like everything happens for a reason, right? Like there's some things that I'm working on and I'm doing and I'm being proactive about. Whenever I need help, he's there. Freaky fast with the responses. It's crazy. But yeah, no, everything is cool. Everything is good, and but I also wake up every day like I said in the beginning, man, and I fight. So I don't wait on I go and get things done, and take as much advice and learning and planning, whether it's from him or my other partner who's extremely smart, um, and super helpful, or just like my team, right? Like I have like seven, 8 people that work for Shredskinz, and every day, like someone's coming up with something fire, you know what I mean? And I'm listening and I'm learning and I'm always growing. And it just before we got onto this, I had an idea. Call Chris up. Chris works for us. He's our creator, content creator, as far as like edits and cut ups, and he runs our Twitter or YouTube. Our YouTube is up like 100,000% or some crazy number, because we haven't got it going until he came. He runs my Facebook. And anyway, I called Chris. I'm like, Chris, like, hey, can you do this, and this? He's like, oh yes, hit it with this. I was like, well, you can have that, but I have it by tonight. Like, that's the type of people that you need on your team. You know what I mean? So I say it all to say, yeah, my relationship with Marc is awesome. He's fire. But I'm also, working with my team and relying on myself too at the end of the day.
So I guess, and I hope I'm not peeling the veil back too much. You sound like such a go-getter. You're very passionate. I just hear it oozing from you. And one of the Sharks actually said it. I think it was a viral moment where he was like, you're so real. Like, what does your day look like? When you get up, and I'm not to get too personal, but like, I'm a believer that success is found in your routine, like what you do on a day-to-day basis. And I feel like success is the sum of small things done well. So what does an average day look like for a successful person like yourself?
So I always like to speak on things that I'm like extremely confident in, and in all full transparency, like I'm still working on self development of routine, right? And routine and time management, right? And so I don't want to preach as if like I have it all figured out, but I will say there's a few things that I have found to help me that I can share with others, right? One thing that I acquired was a second phone, right? And I think that that's huge. I wish everybody would have a second phone, right? And what that allows you to do is like genuinely separate your personal life from your business life. And it's easy to say like, oh yeah, I'll just keep it separate on one phone, different platforms. But it's not, and I think that that truly helped, right? And so being able to balance a day, I'm also a dad, right? So like being able to balance a day, take care of things I need to take care of in the morning and then after school, but then having like these two phones. Obviously, I got a laptop. And being able to separate that work and personal life truly helps. But right now, full transparency, I'm in this grind mode that like I couldn't even tell you a routine because I'm up at 6:30 and I'm going to bed at midnight, and I'm not stop working. Like I do not stop working. So I can't tell you like, yeah, so from here I do this and then I get this. Like, nah, man, like today I thought I was going to work out at 12. Schedule changed. I thought it was going to be at 3. Schedule changed. It's at 7:30 if it happens. And one thing, I kind of learned from one of my best friends, AJ Hoskins, man, is he just, he just goes where life takes him, man. Like he just relaxes, take a deep breath, no anxiety. And that's something that I'm working on myself, right? Like what's the point of me getting hung up because I didn't get my workout in at 12? I'll get my workout in right tonight. And if it doesn't somehow happen, it's okay. I'll get it done again, right? I'll get it done the next day. So yeah, I don't want to sound like preachy, like I got it all figured out, man. I'm figuring out just like everyone else. And I think, but maybe that speaks to the volumes of like it's okay to not be so routine and so structured, right? Like take a deep breath. You know what I mean? Like take a deep breath and just as long as you're getting your done, go with life. Go where life takes you. Go where the universe takes you, or God, or whatever you believe in. Where go where it takes you, and you'll find yourself in the right position as long as you have the right mindset and that positive mindset, right? Subconscious and conscious. And I feel like you can't lose that way, right? So just stay productive, right? Don't hop on the 2K. You know what I mean? Don't sit there and watch Netflix for 5 hours and then be like, oh, this is where life took me. You know what I mean? So be productive, but relax.
Yeah, that was something I think I struggled with a little bit too, just getting the workout in. I tell myself I try to get up at 4:30. I'm gonna get it in the morning. Like this morning, I was like, I'm getting it done this morning, and the day started happening, and I just didn't have the opportunity to do it. I'm gonna try to do it after we get done. Get done today, but I'm not sure, man. But no, that was real good. I appreciate that transparency and that candidacy. I guess my next question would be for you is, what's the one thing you think you need to do or Shredskinz needs to do to get to that next level? I'm sure you're tracking where you're going. I'm sure you're monitoring your growth. But what do you think is the one thing that, man, if we would nail this down, or if we got better here, in your opinion, what would be that next thing for Shredskinz to get to the next level?
Yeah, so there's a ton of things, right? And there's a lot of things that I keep internally because obviously, I mean, these are like, in my opinion, like extreme gold mines. But one thing that I think is pretty obvious that I will say is just being as eco-friendly and eco-conscious as possible, right? So like I personally believe that if we continue to seek out really innovative plastics, right? Because the elephant in the room is like, hey, you're single use. What does that mean for our carbon footprint and our environment, right? And so, like, I'm on top of that, and that's one thing that I don't want to say hope because I feel like either you can hope or you can do it, and that's one thing that I'm actively trying to change with Shredskinz is just become as eco-conscious as possible, right? Like I mean that when I said that on the episode, because I understand like it's a big deal, and if I could, whether it's contributing or minimizing, right? Because I'm not going to stop my product, right? People use uh, a single-use toilet paper, right? And think it's funny, but it's like if it's really that big of a deal, right? And I know they could say like, oh no, toilet paper. Okay, let's look at flush wipes, right? Pounds, tons of flush wipes get stuck. What do they do with it? They don't know what to do with it, right? But you're not going to go use a washcloth and then wash it, right? Some people might, but until the entire United States is using washcloths on their butt, like don't come for me about Shredskins. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
there's always going to be a single use convenient factor. And so if I could just be as eco-conscious as possible while I am one of those products, that's my goal. But I will say we're rolling out on Amazon in about a week. So that's fire. That if we weren't doing that, I would have said Amazon. You know what I mean? Like Amazon's going to take us to that next level. We're rolling out into Canada, right? Somebody mentioned Drake or something. I mean, I'm trying to get Champagne Poppy and the Shredskins. These are things that like I have been thinking of, and now they are happening. So those two things are going to be huge, and then just being as eco-conscious as possible. And then there's a lot of like brand tweaks and super super interesting things that I think all brands should do. That's why I won't say it, right? Like they got to pay you to see that. But yeah, nah, those things are crucial, and that's going to take us to the next level.
Man, awesome. I appreciate your time, man. Do you have anything else like do you want to tell somebody who's let me say this. I always try to ask this question, if you can go back to yourself whenever you were younger and first starting this, and what you know now versus what you knew then, what would you tell yourself? What advice would you give yourself when you were first starting this business out with the information that you have now?
Oh man, that's such a loaded question, and I'm going to answer it for the sake of the question. I'm not trying to. I feel like every answer I give is philosophical, man, but it's true, right? This is how I'm feeling. So, as we all know, right, I went through some traumatic stuff in my life. If you watch my episode, right, so it's really hard for me to be like, I could go back in time and do X, Y, and Z, right? Because when you go through something so traumatic, the only thing that you can believe to like keep you going through the day is it had to happen for a reason. So, though I am going to answer the question, right, I never try to think like that because it's like all those L's, man, and I talk about this often, those losses that I took, I turned those losses into lessons. You know what I mean? Like, so the first thing that came on my mind to answer your question is not to spend so much money on influencers and affiliates, right? Like that's one of my biggest tips. Don't do that. There's really no point, right? It's from big fighters to big football players, to the Instagram model you see that you want to use your X, Y, and Z. No disrespect to them. I respect and love their platforms, but it's not worth it for a small business. It's just not, right? That is in the category called brand awareness, right? So let me give you an example. God, I can't really give you an example off the top of my head without for the sake of time. But usually when you see Because some marketing in these big platforms, not big platforms, these big products suck to me. Like, why would you spend that much money on something like this where you could just pump it into TikTok or Instagram or whatever? But whatever. I mean, you got teams and teams of marketing that have a strategic reason. I hope, right? I mean, we still have bus ads and billboards, so I don't know, whatever. But my point is, when you spend so much money on influencers, athletes, and et cetera. And they're so high and they're charging you $5,000, $10,000, $2,500 a post. You could take that same money and push that into ads and get someone that knows what they're doing and can target these specific niches without even having to get those people to do it, right? Let the platform work for you. All of our data is collected. They know what the viewer is watching and listening to and likes. Period. So why not push that budget into finding them instead of trying to get X, Y, and Z from the X, Y, and Z to where your product for $5,000? That's not going to bring you the same money back. It's not. It's just not. And if it does, hey, you got lucky, right? Perfect. And so that's the advice that I would give. But I do that, right? And I just turn those L's into essentially like lessons. I'll never do it again, right? Unless I feel something in my heart and tells me I need to align with this person. So I would just tell people, don't. I tell myself, don't spend those thousands of dollars trying to get people to post your Shredskinz when you could do it a different way.
Man, that was awesome. That was practical. That was tangible. That was real. Like a lot of times I ask that question and it might get a little, I don't know, but you gave us something that we can really hold on to and actually apply because honestly speaking, I was kind of thinking in that vein a little bit. I was like, well, maybe I need to try to figure out how to get my brand into people's, mind a little bit differently. Maybe I need to leverage an influencer, but you've dispelled that myth for me by giving that advice for sure.
Let me clarify. Since we're on the topic, and I just want to let you know, one, what might work for me might not work for you, and what may work for you may not work for me, right? And so, from a podcast perspective, right, you have something that is so tangible but not tangible, right? You have this art, this platform that can be rewatched millions of times, right? And so, though for me, I say it straight up. I've had Noah and Miley Cyrus rock Shredskinz before, right? But nobody will ever know that because it's never been posted. It's never been documented. Even if Shredskinz was to post it, it doesn't really matter because they're not going to acknowledge it, right? I've had some really big DeMarcus Cousins, right? Like I've had some really big athletes rock Shredskinz, but it doesn't necessarily matter because they haven't posted. Now, from a podcast perspective, and this is why I'm just clarifying because it would be really dope, right? Because here's the thing: if you paid $20,000, who's like the hottest dude on the market right now? I mean, dude, there's some dudes that are like, you have to find that weird, like up and coming, but not too expensive. But let me just give you an example. This would never happen because his brother has his own podcast. Let me give you a better example. Let's say, okay, let's say Aaron Rodgers, right? Football. He just signed a huge contract to the Jets, right? Let's say you had Aaron Rodgers on your podcast, right? Right now, boom, flying up, right? Because he's a hot topic. Let's say you had Aaron Rodgers on your podcast a month ago. It's still going up because he has hit another hot topic. So, whereas though in podcasts, it's like, okay, I could spend that money. I could save and spend that money and get one fire ass engagement in person on my podcast because it's like art. It's going to sit there. It's going to accumulate this value, right? You find some podcasts back in the day that people will always remember, right? I don't know how into rap you are, but like that Meek Mill Funk Master Flex freestyle, I still listen to this day, right? That will always be there. Whereas though for Shredskinz, and I know I'm rambling, but I just want to, because I don't want you to steer away from the mindset that you had. Whereas though for Shredskinz, right? I'll give you an example. I have a friend. He's known by the Groovin' Gorilla, right? He's pretty big on Instagram, right? He's a good friend. Before he blew up, he was rocking Shredskinz, dumping the sweat. We got the video. That's my boy. But it doesn't really matter for Shredskinz because if I repost it, yeah, people may be like, oh, that's the big dancing swole guy. But unless he posts it, it doesn't matter. When you have a podcast, your platform, it's like a museum. of art that people will always be able to walk into. Whereas though for me in a specific product, it doesn't really matter what picture or whatever I have with whatever celebrity. It only matters if they post it. And when they post it, it's like, how long is it really going to be available until somebody just moves on through the post? So if you're in your mind and you're thinking, hey, like I want to spend X, Y, and Z to get a fire person with some traction on, because it's always going to be on YouTube, do it. You know what I mean? If we did this podcast before Shark Tank, the next week after I aired, you would automatically probably have 10,000 views, just because people, they're looking on YouTube. Who the hell is Kalaii Griffin? And there's not much. There's stuff there, but like football and stuff. There's maybe like one entrepreneurial podcast, but there wasn't much there. And so those are the things that are really important, I think, as a podcast host. So stick with it, man. If there's somebody in mind and he's charging, but don't get taxed though, right? Like don't spend crazy money on them. Like you'll find like those diamonds in the rough that that may just skyrocket, right? Like I feel like I'm a diamond in the rough, and give me 5 years, I'm gonna be I'm gonna be a problem. You know what I mean? So people will come back to your podcast, and that's just how I feel about me. But you'll find, you know, some solid influencers that are on this trajectory of just going crazy, you know?
Yeah, no, that's good, man. And I appreciate the transparency for sure. It's like me and you are having a conversation off record, but it's on wax. So I'm good with it. I'm good with it. No, man, Kalaii, I appreciate you, man. Let the people know where they can follow you. Let them know where they can purchase your product. How can we patronize you? Let us know how can we do that?
No, for sure. So you can follow me with my name, Kalaii 2. The number 2, the second, you know, I just picked the number 2. You know, got the TikTok, Instagram. That's pretty much where I'm at. And then as far as Shredskinz, Shredskinz with a Z on all platforms except maybe Pinterest. Right. But we're on all platforms. You can check us out there. And if you want to buy a Shredskinz, you do have your affiliate code, right? If you don't,
yes, sir. Yes, sir. That is SEAL11, SEALE11. Go ahead. I was going to speak on that, but you guys gave me my first, like, you talking about a boost. You know, I asked you the question about what was that one thing that kind of made you feel like you can do something, and I reached out to y'all, and you know, the response was, "Hey, make us something. Show us what you can do," and I did it. And I guess I liked what we did, and we've been kind of in conversation ever since, man. And I love the product, and I appreciate you guys allowing me to be in your business.
Nah, man, thank you, man. I do remember that, not vividly, but I do remember Jaden, who, you know, was our content, social media, customer support manager. And she hit me and she was like, check out this video. And I was like, oh, this is hard. And I think I just saw it kind of floating through because there's so many videos coming in. And I'm like, I like this. I like the creativity behind it. I like the effort behind it. And I was like, hey, like, who's this guy? And so, you know, then I ended up following you personally. And usually when I see affiliates that are doing posts on the Shredskinz, there's another dude, he's playing basketball right now. And like, he just makes some really dope content. And you know what he's doing, and you know, it's pretty cool. I don't even know his name. I feel bad, but like I'm just getting to know the dude. He plays basketball and he's making this content that's super cool. And one thing that he's doing, instead of doing the sweat dump, he's squeezing it and popping it. He's squeezing and popping. That's so different to me. That's so cool. So of course I had to tap in with him, right? Like of course I had to follow him myself, and obviously we got him set up with a code. But like that's so cool, right? You keep finding new things and new ideas just from everyone else, and you just kind of tie it together. And it's a Shredskinz fam. So happy to have you a part of the Shredskinz fam too, man. And that's just how it works for sure.
For sure, man. And guys, I hope you guys have gotten something from this episode. This gentleman has given us enough, I think, for us to help us get to our next phase in life as entrepreneurs. He's told you where we can buy Shredskinz from, and I just appreciate you coming on to the show. And I thank you. And until next time, TPE family, peace.
Mine, love mine.
Tap into the Pivot Experience, where we help young, hungry entrepreneurs move on to the next step.